Well, hey there. Saturday morning here at the cabin on Huckleberry Hill. It's about 30 degrees and I'm out here about to test my do-it-yourself packable fire irons. First thing we need to do is get a little fire going. Let's talk about what I've got going on here. So I'm going to transfer some fire over to that side and get things set up to try this thing out. Let's take a minute to talk about this little setup that I've got here. We live in a land that has a terrible shortage of rocks. We don't have, what rocks we do have, they're really soft and they're not much good for anything. Now, just because we don't have rocks doesn't mean that we can't build a nice stove in the woods. Again, this is not an original idea. I don't think there are any original ideas in this outdoor community. People come up with new products that are based on old ideas, but a good many years ago, I was reading a little book by Nessmuk, by George W. Sears. Smoke in my eye. Woodcraft and camping, and he talked about going into the woods and setting up the camp kitchen and how he went about doing that. And he talked about taking 2 green logs, the length that he needed, and his were they were much longer than this. For my purpose, this is good enough, but he flattened the top to make a level surface, and then he would set his pots on that, and it was in a V shape, and he built his burning fire to make his coals out in the wider opening, and then rake them back to his cooking area. That's what's causing all that smoke, that pine. Now, what we do with these is simply open them up and set them right there. It gives us a little surface to set a pot on or a skillet. Now, I've got to admit that I'm a fan of military stuff, military surplus gear. I'm not saying it's the best gear. I'm just saying I'm a fan of it. And for a couple of reasons. One, it harkens me back to the day when I spent a portion of my life in the Army. And the other is that the stuff is tough. It's made to last. It may tend to be a little on the heavy side, but it lasts. It's good stuff. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my cup right there. And put a little water in it. Now, bear in mind that I'm not doing any serious cooking out here this morning. We're just trying out these fire irons to see how they work. I'll tuck this back in here. Now, a little improvement that I discovered along the way to this canteen cup is a canteen cup lid. Where did I get it? I got it from Survival Resources. If you're not familiar with John McCann and Denise at Survival Resources, they have a great website. They have some good good products that they sell. And not only that, John and Denise, they're front burner people. They're top drawer, good folks. So check them out. And for just a few dollars, that little canteen cup lid sits right there, keeps the ashes out, and it allows the heat to build up inside to heat it up faster. And what we'll do here now, we're just going to keep a little fire going there. It doesn't take a lot to heat up a cup or two of water. You don't need a big roaring blaze. And I'll be back in just a minute. One of the things that I forgot to mention about making the fire iron is even though the steel in this material isn't the best quality steel, when you heat that end and start hammering on it to flatten it, you're hardening that steel. A piece of this same material, not round but flat, the same quality of steel, a drill bit will go into it fairly easily. But once you heat and beat the end of that, it hardens that steel. And one of the things I want to suggest, if you decide to do this, and I hope you do, it's a fun little project, it's a useful project, and if you do, while that end is still hot, center punch where you want your hole, where you're going to drill the hole, because even after it cools off, center punching it is difficult. But while that steel is still fairly hot, and you don't have to get it cherry red to flatten out a little piece of steel like that. Just get it good and hot. But while it's still good and hot, center punch it so that the tip of that drill bit has a place to bite. And that'll help you out a lot. Put a little oil on there. Any kind of oil will help that drill bit to cut like it should. Oh, that's a good cup of joe. Good cup of hot joe on a cold lower Alabama morning. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. I want to encourage you, embrace the outdoors, get out in it, learn from it, train in it. Have a good time. You won't regret it. We'll see you on the next one.